So we're going to start on the mat. So we're going to do everything lying on our back this morning. So we're going to tip the pelvis back and then allow the head to rest on the mat, feeling the pelvis just settling into that space. And then gently draw your heels in line with your butt, so they're not too far away from the sit bones. So have them drawn in so that you've got a comfortable position through your legs, so you're not kind of gripping onto the front of your thighs to be in that space. And then our main focus in Pilates, one of the main principles, is to have a neutral spine. So a neutral spine is space underneath your low back. And that space is there for a functional reason. So it gives the spine a C-curve, which allows us to absorb impact when we're walking around from the ground. So that's the purpose of having a neutral spine. And in fact, when Joseph Pilates first designed Pilates, he thought our spine was flat, so all the exercises were taught with a flat spine. But we now know that our spine is an S-curve, so we want to create as much optimal activity in our muscles as we can. So if we align our joints in the right position, then we're in a better starting place. So to find that neutral position, if some of you find that maybe difficult, is just press the low back into the mat. And some of you may already be resting in that position where your low back is pressed into the mat. Then exaggerate and arch the back away from the mat, so you're kind of creating a deeper arch in your back. And then fall somewhere in the center of those 2 points. You come between those 2 points, and then you will find there will be space for your hand to slip underneath your back. And often you'll hear me say space for a blueberry, and that's referring to the neutral. So let's just remain in that neutral now, and we'll take a couple of breaths. So we're going to breathe in through the nose and exhale out through the nose. Breathing in and exhaling out. And then if you place your hands onto your ribs, you'll feel your ribs kind of sticking out a little bit there, just below the chest. Place the hands onto the ribs and have your middle fingers touching in the center. So we're in this position here, hands are on the ribs. And then take your breath in again. So breathe in and exhale out through the mouth. And now start to direct the breath laterally into those palms of the hands as you breathe in. You want the middle finger to disconnect, and then as you exhale, the middle fingers come back together again. So we'll just try that lateral breath a couple of times, breathing in. Try to breathe laterally to the side rather than fall down deep into the belly, and then slowly release. And that's another one of our principles of Pilates, the lateral breath. But it does take a while to get that. One more breath in. And then exhale, releasing out. Excellent. Now let's place the hands down by our side. We're going to inhale, rise the arms up towards the sky with the palms facing each other. And then we reach the fingers up to the ceiling, getting a stretch on the back of our shoulders. And on the exhale, we want to square the shoulder blades down onto the mat. So we're creating that neutral position around our shoulders. Breathe in to reach. And exhale to square the shoulders down. Breathing in. And exhale. Now often you'd hear in Pilates, engage your core, activate your center. And there's a little bit of, what's the word, not full agreement on whether you need to engage your core actively, draw your belly in where you're actually asking your body to do it. Some people have the view that that just happens naturally as your body moves around. So whatever school you come from, if you're watching as a Pilates teacher or if you're watching as a client, and some people are asking you to zip and hollow, some people are asking you to tighten belts, whatever it is, we work with what works for your body. So you can think of a gentle draw in from the belly if you wish. We're going to take one more breathe in to reach the fingers up to the sky. And then exhale, draw the shoulder blade down on your back. Now from here, we're going to scissor the arms, open up the sideways. So we exhale, reach one arm over the head. And then inhale, come back to the center. So we're going a little bit slower pace this morning, just to give people the chance to pick up those fundamentals of the Pilates method, and then back to center. And exhale, reaching. And back through. And notice as you're reaching, do you feel any tightness through the shoulder blade, particularly of the arm going overhead? Do you feel any catching, or does it feel nice and smooth in that joint? And if you do feel catching, back off how far you're going back with that arm. So you could just reduce the range a little bit until the joint opens up a bit more. We'll take 2 more. Exhale to reach. Inhale to center. And 1 more. Exhale to reach. And breathe in and come back to the center. Now let's float the hands down to the floor. Now we're going to come to tabletop. So knees in line with your hip and your shin is parallel to the floor or the ceiling, and that's referred to as tabletop leg. From here, we're going to extend that leg out long into a single leg stretch, single leg extension, and then draw back into the middle. So as you press out, you could push the sole of the foot to the wall below you, and then as you return, the foot just goes into a natural point position, or you could choose to keep that point the whole way through as you come in and out. So if you wanted to get some work in through the feet, you could involve that pressing of the sole of the foot to the wall. Exhale and inhale. And here is where you might consider, do you need a little bit of help with your tummy muscles to support that neutral? If you feel that your low back is compressing in towards the mat, think about maybe gently drawing the belly in as you extend the leg out long, and that might give you additional support to stabilize the lumbar spine in its neutral position. Let's do 2 more. Press it long. And back through. And 1 more. Pressing out. Inhale, return to your tabletop. Exhale, place it down. Inhale, take your second leg to tabletop without pushing in through your low back. And then exhale, lengthening long. So the concept of neutral is that we're able to stabilize neutral by virtue of our core activating to support that neutral spine. And that's why we start in neutral in the beginning. And then from there, our muscles and our legs are more effective and efficient at creating this single leg stretch. We're going to do 5 more of these. So we exhale to extend. The lower you go, the more challenge it is to maintain that neutral, and back to center. 3 more, reaching long and back through. And I'm assessing my upper body here, so I want to avoid my shoulders gripping or my head or jaw working. So just allowing the upper body to rest in space. 1 more, reach it out. Inhale and place the foot back to the center. From here you can do some nice opening up through the hip socket. So allow the right knee to fall out halfway to the side, the foot still in contact with the mat. Now slide your heel along the mat. Turn the toes back to the sky and slide the heel back in. So it's inhale as the knee goes out to the side and down. And then it's exhale as the toes come to the sky and back in. Breathing in out to the side. Exhale, leg lines up and back to center. So just allowing a little bit of mobility through the hip socket. So really nice to maintain healthy range through our hip sockets. And back through. Let's do 1 more. Breathing in. Notice I'm keeping my left hip nice and still as my right leg comes out to the side. So we can work on that on the other side. So as we move the left leg to the side, if you pop the left leg way, way over, you'll notice that the hip will follow it. You don't want the hip to follow it, so you want to keep your hip still. You move the left leg out to wherever the hip can maintain its neutral, then press it down and return it back to the center. So all the time there's stability on the opposing side of your body. And that's what happens naturally when you move around. Just walking upstairs, walking to the shops. One side is mobile and then the other side is stable, and then it switches and switches and switches. But it's really important that you have stability when you have the opposite side mobile. Let's go for 4 more. Breathe in as we go out and down. And exhale as we draw up. And it can be useful to have your hand on the opposite hip, because that just gives you a self-monitor as to how you are doing with stability, because you have no instructor supporting you. One more, inhale out to the side, and then back down. So that would be one of the things that would happen in your Pilates class. The instructor would be able to kind of spot those things and then be able to suggest to back off how wide you're going. But for the moment, you're self-monitoring. So let's take one leg back to tabletop again. And we're going to bring the second leg up. So to take the second leg up, often there wouldn't be strength through the core to bring the second leg up into neutral unless you're doing Pilates, excuse me, for a while. So you're going to press your low back into the mat. So you're going to allow your low back to find contact with the mat. Take the second leg up. That's more supportive through your spine. And now slowly move the knees about a centimetre away from your nose. So you feel you've got that space back in through your low back. Now you need to self-assess again. Can you maintain this position? Is your tummy muscle kicking in to support you? If it's not, move back into that imprint where your low back is gently connected to the mat, but it's not squashing the living daylights out of your blueberry. It's just gently pressing against the blueberry. And by working in this position for a couple of weeks, that will strengthen your core up enough so you can move into true neutral. So this is a stepping stone from that back squashed into the mat into the regular neutral. Okay, so decide what works there for you. And then if this doesn't work at all, your back is kicking in double legs, you have to simply take one foot to the floor to give your body a chance to develop core strength in order to be safe to bring you into double legs. So we're going to do a tap leg now. So I'll show you with the single leg because I'm in the single leg position. So we keep the knee at 90-degree angle, and then we tap your foot to the floor and we reach it back up again. But notice that 90-degree angle at the back of my knee joint doesn't change from start to finish. So it remains exactly the same angle. So often when people will tap, they'll do this. They'll go half into a single leg stretch and then go back to a knee bend. So try not to do that if you can. Try and keep the knee bent. And we're just opening the front of the hip. So the front of the hip or the thighs like a drawbridge opening, and then it closes. And if you have two legs up, we tap one leg and then back to center. And then we tap the other and back to center. So if you're on a single leg now, you can do one more on the single leg. And now you can switch, go to your other leg. So we're going to do 8 more. It's exhale as we go down. Inhale up. And to give yourself a little bit of support here if you need it, you could imagine a belt around your waist here and just gently tighten the belt in 1 notch, so you're just facilitating that natural activation of your core. Let's do 4 more. 3, 2, and 1 more. Inhale at the top, and then exhale, slowly lower your feet down 1 by 1. Excellent. All right, from there we're going to turn over onto all fours. So we're getting into a square box position with the heels of the hands and the knees, or maybe a rectangle depending on the length of your spine, but you're getting the heel of the hand in line with your knees. Then from here, we want to find our neutral in the all fours position. So if you press your tailbone back behind you, allow your belly to sort of hang down. That will create an arch in your low back here. Now do the complete opposite and pull the belly in and up, and then that sort of flattens out the spine, pushes it up in the opposite direction. Now we want to come somewhere in the center of those 2 points. So we have a little curve in the lumbar spine, the natural curve that's there already. So I would use the analogy that imagine you have a blueberry resting in that groove. So it's not a huge groove, it's just a little groove for the blueberry to rest under. And we're trying to encourage that neutral all the time in the all fours. Then from here, without shifting the body weight to one side, we slide the leg out nice and long and then come back into the center. Sliding out, you can have your toe along the mat, or if you want more challenge, you take your foot away from the floor as you come in and out. A little tip here, if you do feel that you're listing to the side, imagine this leg here, which is my left leg. Imagine the inner thigh of the left leg is pushing in towards an imaginary brick wall. So it's pushing into the midline, and that will help support you more through a square hip position. So we reach it out, and then we come back to the center. We'll do one more like that. Reach it out, and then come back to the center. Now switch to the other side, so we'll extend it out and back to the center. Activate the inner thigh of the right leg this time as we're pressing. So we're working the butt muscles here. We'll do 2 more. 1 more. Extend. Slowly release. Then you can do a little shell stretch, just taking the weight off the wrist, reaching the arms out in front, letting the elbows rest and the head rest. Another tip, if you're challenged on your wrists, you bring the wrists back towards your ankles when you come into shell stretch, because it brings the blood flow into the wrists quicker. And you could do little circles down here as well. So that's more supportive if you have weakness through your wrists or issues in the wrists. Then come back to all fours again, same position. Find that neutral, that little space, the groove for the blueberry. Extend your right leg out long this time with your toes pressing onto the end of your mat. We exhale, squeeze the back, press the heel up towards the sky without the back super arch. So the back has to stay neutral. And then we touch the toe from the floor. We exhale, lift it up, back of the thigh is active, and then draw back to the center. So imagine you've got a brick on the upper thigh and you're pushing the brick up towards the ceiling and then tapping it down. Exhale to lift and press. Inhale to lower. Do 1 more for me. Exhale, lift to press. And lower down. Switching legs. 5 on the left. So extend it long. I'm gently drawing my center in to support my lumbar spine so I don't hang out in that space. Then I squeeze as I lift and tap it down. Squeeze on the lift and tap down. Eye gaze looks out to the top of your mat to encourage good form in this square box position. 2 more. And last one. And slowly release it. Excellent. From here, we're going to turn over onto our seated position. So we're sitting nice and tall. So what we want to do here, when we come to a seated position, we want to assess, can we sit up in this tall position? So if you're here and you just can't get any further, grab a cushion from your couch, or if you have a block, and then sit on the block. So let's say this is the block. Sit up on the block. And when you sit up on something high, it'll give more space to your back, so it'll allow you to elevate a little bit more. Now, these blocks are not ideal because they're quite narrow. So for me, with these blocks, I probably would be better to have them one in front of the other, because I'm going to be rolling back in space. So if you're working with something that's very narrow, it might not work for you. So our move looks like this. Palms are out, spine is tall, and then I tip my pelvis back. So that's why I was talking about the blocks being in front of each other rather than side to side, but a cushion is perfect. So breathe in and tip your pelvis back. So it's like you're scooping your belly out and you're tucking your tailbone under. So you round through that lumbar spine. So we're here now in the C curve. And then as we come up, we press the tailbone down. We reach the crown of the head nice and tall. So we come into a tall seated position. So we're going to do that again. Inhale as you roll back. And exhale as you lift yourself nice and tall. Breathing in again. Tipping through the pelvis. Exhale, tailbone down, crown of the head long, collarbones up wide as we lift up. Now we're going to go a little bit further so that we make it all the way onto the mat. So we're going to inhale to tip down. If you're challenged here, you could have your hands in the back of your thighs. Roll all the way down, vertebrae by vertebrae. Reach the arms over the head. Breathe in, take your hands to the ceiling. Exhale, nod your head And then we fold our body forward. So our lower ribs move into our front pockets as we start to flex the body forward. And then we come back to that seated tall position. Use the back of the thighs if you're challenged. Breathe in. Exhale, lowering the head, reaching the arms over. Now on the way up, a tip for you, if you get stuck on the way up, bring your right leg into tabletop and have your hands grab it. And then on the exhale, you're pushing forward with that right leg. So that's supporting that sticky spot in the lumbar spine. Release the hands, breathe in to roll it down. Exhale to reach it over. And if you're using the legs, make sure you switch to the opposite leg now so you're even as you come forward and back. Again, 2 more. Breathe in. Exhale, reach over. Inhale, using the leg if you need the leg. Otherwise, exhale, just flex forward. We're going to do 1 more. Breathe in. Exhale, reach it over. Inhale and exhale, flex forward. Good job. Okay, from here, turn onto your side. Have your bottom arm go nice and long and have your 2 legs super straight. So when you look down, you can just see the tips of your toes. So you don't want to see all the front of the thighs. You just want to see the tips of the toes. Head can rest down onto that arm then. Use this hand in front just to give you some support for your balance. And then you lift the top leg up as you exhale. And as you lower, point the toes away from you. Exhale, we lift it up. And inhale, we point it down. So we're just working the lateral muscles in the thigh here and down. And we're encouraging the head particularly to be reaching out, looking towards the wall in front of you. So there's a temptation to look down at the foot, and then your upper body is all out of its neutral position. So let your eye gaze look forward as we're moving with the leg. Breathe in as we rise, and exhale as we lower. We're going to do 5 more like this. Breathing in, and lower down. And here you can think about the underside waist. And maybe just monitor, are you dumping into the mat? Are you kind of really collapsing your body into the mat? And if you are, try and pull up from the underside waist so you're a little bit more active through the side body. 2 more. Breath in, lower down, and last one. Breathe in and lower down. Now let's go face down onto our tummy for swan dive, working the extensors of the back. Feet separate to either corner of the mat. Your elbows are in line with your shoulders with all 5 fingers touching the floor. You take an inhale. On the exhale, we push into the hands and extend the body up, keeping all 10 toenails on the floor. Breath in there. And then exhale, slowly lower your spine back down to the floor. Breathe in. As you're lifting up, you could think about your shoulder blades gently drawing in the direction of each other. So we're activating the middle spine muscles. Breath in and gently lower down. So this exercise is really important in your Pilates repertoire because this counterbalances our forward flexed posture. So if you're sitting at a desk all day, those flexor muscles are on all the time. And in general life, we work our flexor muscles an awful lot more. So this keeps you in an upright posture. So it keeps your posture standing tall. So it stops you from stooping over when you're strong in these muscles in your middle back. And then gently lower it down. We're going to take 1 more breathe in. Exhale to elevate up. Inhale, and then gently lower everything back down. Now we're going to turn and face the other side. So I'm going to turn my back to you. I don't often do this, but I want you to just see my spine. So see how straight I am as I'm lifting the leg up on an inhale and then exhale, lowering down. So my eye gaze is looking forward. My posture is like I'm in a standing, just upright position. So I'm not like in a round kind of curls position as I lift up and down. I'm really bringing effort into my alignment, where I am in space, where I am on the mat. So nice and tall and long. And we're going to do 5 more of these. Inhale, lift. Exhale, lower. 4 and down. 3 and last 2. And one final one, lifting up and lowering back down. Excellent. Okay, now we're going to come onto our back again, but we're going to take our band or a scarf if you have one. If you don't, you can use your track bottoms. And we're going to pop it around the right foot. So when we pop it around the right foot, we're looking to lengthen the leg out so that the back of the knee joint here is stretched. So if you're trying to pull your leg really close to your nose, your knee will end up in this bent position, and then you're not getting the stretch in the lower part of your hamstring. So you really need to find a place where you can open up that back of the knee without your leg trembling. If your leg is trembling or shaking like crazy, you've gone too far into the stretch, and the receptors in the leg are responding and they're not going to allow you to stretch. So you'll have to switch to the other leg if that's happened. So leg nice and long, and the band just makes it a little bit easier, a little bit more relaxing into the stretch. But if you don't have a band, you could grab your track bottoms, or if you're fairly flexible, your hands could be just on the back of your thigh. Yeah. So elbows are down by your side if you've got your band, scarf or belt. You take your breath in and out. We're not worried about neutral here. We're just really looking to facilitate an openness in the back of our thighs. Toes can be pulled a little bit more deliberately to your nose, and it'll incorporate your calf muscle, this part of the leg here. And we'll take a couple of breaths. So you've seen me do this stretch before if you've been in class. And it's a good opportunity to just, again, really allow the body to let go and rest, so you're not kind of tensing into anywhere right now. It's just a space that we want to allow the body to open out in. You're going to gently guide that leg out to the side, but just like we did in our exercise when we were opening up the hip, you still want to keep your left hip stable. So the left hip is staying stable on the mat as that leg comes out to the side. And we breathe in and out for 3, 2, 1. Slowly draw your leg to the middle. You can move the other leg just down a little bit, and now allow that right leg to go across the body. And as it goes across the body, it'll target the lateral thigh muscles that we worked when we were doing the side leg lifts. And this can be intense for some people, so just be kind to yourself when you're moving into this stretch. You're just looking for a gentle challenge, but not that you're hanging on for dear life. And then slowly come back to the center, bending that knee, pop your other foot into the band, and then find again the nice straight line. And often here I would kind of bring attention to the jaw. Sometimes we can be holding a lot of tension into the jaw or the face. So as you're breathing in and out, really try and bring that attention into the facial muscles as well. So we're softening through the muscles of the face. We'll take 3 more breaths in and out. And then notice the stretch stays still, so we're not bouncing the stretch up and down. It stays, you get more benefit by just holding it in one spot. Then slowly let the leg move out to the side, so you've got inner thigh muscles opening out. And then gently come to the middle, moving the other leg away if it's in your way and allow it to go across the body. Taking another breath. And then slowly come back to the center. Then take that foot out of your band. And you're going to turn around. We're going to come into our shell stretch position again now. So dropping the bum back to the heels. If your knees are restricted, you might be kind of in a high shell stretch. And then we're going to go with our hands. So we take one hand to one side of the mat and the other hand comes on top. And if your bum goes back, your bum goes back. If you're high, you're high. So again, you do you, what works for you. And we're just getting a side stretch here. So my hands are to the left, so I'm stretching the right side of my body. You can allow the head to kind of fall in between that support of the arms as well. We breathe in. Exhale, melting to the floor. One more breath, breathe in. And exhale, melt. Now slowly walk your hands to the other side, letting the head drop again. Breathe in. And out. Lovely side body opener. And then gently move your hands back into the center. You can tuck your toes under, walk your hands to your knees, roll on your hunkers, and then roll yourself all the way to a standing position. And you are done. So well done, good work. Today was all about the fundamentals of Pilates. So this is a session that you can revisit whenever you want to on the page, if you want to just really focus on that stability through lumbar spine and the principles of the Pilates method. So thanks for joining me today. Welcome to anyone that's new, and we will see you again on Saturday at 10 a.m. A little bit more challenge on the Saturday classes. So thanks for joining.